So let's look at this one. What score out of 5 would you give for this poster? Well, I have...
I would approach it just to see who's interested.
Well, I've had responses that vary from from 0. I can tell you it's not from anybody in this room. However, I can tell you it's from a Serbian researcher that was presented at an international conference no, it wasn't. It wasn't that far away, though. It was presented about 6 or 7 years ago in Serbia at an international conference. So, yes. I've had scores that vary from 0 to -1, and I've got scores that would reflect what Tara has said. I'll give it 5, because it's so interesting, it's so dreadful, that I want to go and see which has written it. So now, okay. So this was presented at a meeting in Serbia. It wasn't last century. It was about 2006, 2007. And it was typed on it was a kuca machine, whatever, yes, on a typewriter, and all of the figures and the graphs are carefully drawn by hand with a pen. So, there we go. They obviously couldn't afford a printer. Right, so. But your posters are not going to look like that, are they? So what I'm going to do now is I've got 2 posters per slide for the next 3 or 4 slides. And what I want you to do, don't try to read any of the words because they are far too small to read. But I want you to see what is the impact overall that the poster is having on you. And I'm going to start with the one on the left-hand side. I'm going to ask you for your comments and feedback, and then I shall summarize my thoughts about that poster, and then I'll do the same for the one on the right-hand side. So for the one on the left, what are your thoughts about that? Too much text. Do you like the title? It's too small, you can't see it. What about the figures?
The order of text is not quite easy to understand what the order of reading.
Well, to be fair to them, they have actually numbered the different sections of their text. So you can actually work out which part of the text you go to next. But certainly for me, there is far too much information on there. They've tried to squeeze in too much. And the title is not exactly eye-catching. You probably can't read it from where you are, and I'm struggling from here. It says, temperature influences the coordinated expression of myo-D gene family members during embryonic myogenesis in Atlantic salmon salmosalar L. dot. There you are. There's one for you, Zorka. Not really. Well, it's a fish. Oh, you do? You don't work out? Oh, dear. Oh, so it's Vesta. Okay, it's Vesta and Zoran who I should be addressing. Oh, well, there you are. There's a fish for you. Right. But the title's not exactly eye-catching or attention-grabbing, as we would say. So my comments on that are as follows. There's actually no summary. The title is boring and it's too small. There is no take-home message. The text is a bit difficult to read and it's too dense. And something that I shall comment on several occasions is the fact that the most important information is at the bottom of the poster. Now, you say, well, what's the problem? You don't know, in most cases, where the posters are going to be displayed. You don't know how much space there is going to be between the posters, between the poster boards. And I have been to poster presentations where they've tried to squeeze a large number of poster boards into a small space. So you almost have to go like this in between the poster boards. And that means that if the poster top is up here and the conclusions are down there, you see, it does make it physically a challenge to get there. All right? So if you're going to put something at the bottom there, well, okay, you can put your acknowledgements, references, your phone number, mobile, or whatever, photograph. Stick the less important stuff at the bottom. Focus, try to work your poster content so that you can put the conclusions, the main point, where the eyes are going to look. Okay? So think about the order of the information, and if its conclusion is down here, then that's becoming a challenge. I won't tell you the story of one wonderful poster that I happened to read at a conference in Skopje. Not Skopje, no, Ohrid, Macedonia. Where the conclusions were somewhat lower than there. But yes, you don't see that very often. Oh, what about the one on the right-hand side? Too much? Well, it's not easy to see the contrast, is it? Especially at the bottom where it's actually a photograph of fish swimming in the sea, where it becomes very difficult to read the words. Something else that one of my participants pointed out to me from a previous course is that you have a single line of text going from left to right. It's not broken up into separate panels. And if you're standing in front of the poster, let's say the poster's here, your head is sort of constantly going, so it's physically not so easy to read the words when it's a single line of text going all the way along. So try to avoid that. What about the title, though? The title's much more easy to see, isn't it? So it's a much more visible title than the one on the left-hand side. So Pacific tarpon, it's a type of fish, I suppose. Yeah. Right. Okay, so I've said here that in green are the positive points. So the title is easy to read. There's also no summary. The color scheme makes text hard to read. Text across the full poster width. There's actually no contact information. There's no email address. Now, it still very frequently happens that people put the full address of their institution. So they would give the experimental field station in Sremci Karlovci, street number, blah, 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 Serbia. But they don't give an email address. Now, not many people will put a letter in the post to ask you for information, will they? They will send you an email. Well, they would do if they had your email address. So make sure, obavezno, that your email address is easily visible on your poster so that people can see you and contact you afterwards. The most important information is at the bottom of the poster again. You may not be, well, you can't see it, but their main point is right at the bottom down there. What about these two posters? The one on the left first. See, it's a different style, isn't it?
So this one
It's far too small. It's very difficult to read the words, and the choice of the color scheme for the figure legend, or the description of the figures, is not exactly the best choice. It's yellow on green, which just makes me feel slightly sick. And again, where are the conclusions? Can you see conclusions at the bottom? However, the title is easier to see, isn't it? It stands out. The white letters on the black background, you can see the title more easily. But generally, they've tried to squeeze too much into that poster. So my comments on that one are an unusual layout with all of the text down one side and the figures on the other side. There's a nice clear title, and also the take-home message is in the title. Do you remember the third type of title for a scientific manuscript that I was giving you as an example? This is an example where in the title it tells you the results of the research. So here it tells you brassinosteroids protect plants against heat stress. So it actually gives you your take-home message in the title. However, text on green is too small. The most important information is at the bottom of the poster. Now, this is one specially for Dushan on the right-hand side. Anybody else working on insects? No, no. It's a nice one, isn't it? Can you tell me what species it is? Oh, you're a useless insectologist. Well, it's because the resolution's not clear enough in this bright light. Exactly. And the glasses, yes. Yes, right. Does that make you want to stop and read it? No? Why not? It's what? It would take 1 hour to read it. Yes. Yes. Actually, I have looked at this. I haven't looked at all the words because there are too many. But I have looked at it, and it does rather read as if it is somebody's entire scientific manuscript. And I think with this example, what they have done is that the paper has been submitted for publication to a journal. And they've used this poster as an opportunity of getting it out for other scientists to read. So they've just squeezed it from 25 pages of text into one A0 size poster, or whatever the size is. So please don't just copy-paste your scientific paper onto a poster. It won't be easy to read. And I don't like the color scheme as well. Brown, it looks sort of, yes.
Background image is okay.
Background, yes. That's the best part of the poster, isn't it? Actually, I chose that because it is becoming, or has become quite common, because you've got these large format printers now. You can print a large background. You can print an image as a background, can't you? And have all of your text on a background image. And that's why I chose that particular example, because it does show what is frequently done of having a background image for your poster. But to me, it doesn't work. So my comments are as follows. The summary is present, but it's too long. It's about it's half of one column. Then we have white text on brown makes it hard to read. A wall of text makes it impossible to read easily. There are too many references. Yes, I'll say a word or two about references. I do include a few references on my posters, but I will keep that to only 3 or 4. Because normally the amount of information that you can put in a poster is much less than it would be for a full paper. You have to identify the key point. And that usually means that only 2 or 3 references are essential. You may have 1 or 2 references to methods, 1 reference at the introduction to your previous work, and then maybe a reference to somebody else's work at the end in the discussion. So you don't need to put in lots of references for a poster. There are no acknowledgements, and there's also no contact email address. So, again, remember to put your email address on your posters. Okay, I've got 2 more. These are 2 in rather similar styles. I've got the one on the right, particularly because of the table. Okay, the one on the left-hand side. What do you like about the overall format using the pale coloured boxes with the rounded corners on a dark background? It's
Soothing.
soothing. Yes, it is quite nice, isn't it? I quite like it. Any other comments from you? Dynamic. Yes, it is. It's not all plom, 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 plom. But it's got some sort of, as you say, there is dynamics to it, sort of large and small. It also has the take-home message in the title, which you may find difficult reading. Let's see what my comments on it are. It's a clear layout. It has numbered boxes so the reader can find their way round the parts of the poster. It's got a take-home message in the title. The Polaris gene is essential for correct ethylene signaling in Arabidopsis thaliana. It was one of the poster prize winners at this conference.
Small text also.
The text is actually rather small. Yes, I would also say the text is rather small. But I think it was the overall appearance of the panels of information that the prize winners or the prize selectors identified. Also, I noticed relatively recently that they've actually got a spelling mistake in the title. It should be Arabidopsis thaliana and not Thaliana. But that overall appearance of a poster where you have a dark background with light coloured boxes on the dark background, that it seems to have a more soothing effect on the reader. And the one on the right hand side is in a similar style with the red colour background. The reason that I've chosen that one is because of the table on the right hand side. Now, normally, I would say don't put large tables into a poster because it will make it difficult for the reader to take in all the information. But I think because this is a poster and you've got free format in how to present the information, although it's quite a large table as a table, with the red panels that are separating the components of the table, it does make it easier for the reader to focus on a specific part of that table. So although the table itself is quite big, it does make it easier to see it. So my comments on that are, it's a title that's easy to read, it's a simple layout, and the colours break up the table nicely. The conclusions, unfortunately, I've now covered up the conclusions. Let's see if I can delete that. The conclusions, you may see halfway down the right-hand panel are the conclusions. So they've managed to put the conclusions in the middle rather than at the bottom of their poster. So that, I think, is something to aim for. However, there is no abstract. The text is rather small to read, and again, no email addresses. So, remember your email address. And there's one poster I'm going to finish with. Is there one? No, I think I might have another one. Yes. This is a different format. All of the other posters have been what we call portrait format. This is horizontal format, which is landscape format. And I think this, in some respects, I quite like the way that they've been able to use the landscape format to break up their text into these narrower panels. And I quite like the headings that they've got. The title is clear to read from a distance. I'm assuming that from the back of the room you can see the title. However, my main criticism of this poster is the size of the figures in relation to the size of the text. They've got large text, which is good, so it's easy to read from a distance. But they've got these rather small figures that don't seem to fit in with the scale of the text. So I would try to reduce some of the words slightly to allow the figures to be the full width of the panel rather than half the width. So, nice clear title, clear simple layout, nice section headings, the take-home message is there, and there's a bit too much text overall though, and the figure is too small, and there's no summary. I've decided to cut that one out and move on to these general formats, general layouts for posters as examples. You could go for a symmetrical balance of information as shown on the left-hand side, or you could try an asymmetric balance on the right-hand side. And then there are examples at the bottom of a radial distribution, where you go, in one case, in a circle round a central theme. So those are alternative ideas that you could think about.